If you're having a hospital birth, you might wonder, once I have this little critter, what happens next? And I'll give you a hint, it's gonna involve you delivering this. Let's get into what to expect, labor and delivery. All right, let's get right into the meat of this one. Once you have had your baby in labor and delivery, one of your first major tasks on the to-do list is to deliver your placenta. Now, the placenta is, of course, that organ that is attached to you, but it is also attached to baby via the umbilical cord. And then together, the placenta and the umbilical cord, they keep your baby thriving and developing in utero by bringing nutrients to your baby and taking waste products away from your baby. But then once the umbilical cord is clamped and cut and that lifeline is removed, because you're now baby's lifeline and you're having to snuggle over here, there is not really a use for this placenta for you or for baby. It's sort of the body's only disposable organ. But if you didn't know that you had to give birth to this after you have given birth to that, then that might come as a big shock to you. So this could take like 5 minutes to come out of you, but it could take upwards of 45 minutes or an hour. All of that time is normal. And depending on your provider, some of them will want to wait all of that time for it to deliver naturally, but some providers will want to sort of coax the placenta to come out a little bit sooner by applying some traction and controlling the delivery of the placenta. But whichever way they go, once the placenta is delivered, chances are they are going to want to take a look at it. And if you are interested in this, you can also ask to take a tour of your placenta because it's pretty cool. It's got two distinguishable sides. One is rough, and that is the side that is attached to you, and one is smooth, and that is baby's side. So the placenta is a pretty cool organ, and you are going to give birth again. Now that you know that you have to deliver your placenta, and the shock of that has worn off a little bit, I do want to rewind and talk about what happens with the birth of your baby. Specifically, what happens with the birth of your baby's shoulder, because chances are you're going to receive an injection of a medication known as Oxytocin if you live in Canada, and Pitocin if you live in the United States. And if you've been doing any amount of Googling or you've taken a childbirth class, I am sure you have heard about Pitocin. But Pitocin as an injection with your baby's birth is very different from Pitocin as an IV drip in labor. It is the same medication, but the purpose is very different. When you're having it by IV in labor, the purpose of it is to convince your contractions to be a little stronger, a little longer, a little closer together, or the purpose is to induce your labor or to get your labor started. As an injection with the birth of your baby's shoulder, the purpose is to prevent postpartum hemorrhage. It is known as the active management of the third stage of labor. And let's just remember for a second, the first stage of labor is from a closed cervix to a fully dilated cervix. The second stage of labor is from fully dilated cervix to the birth of your baby. And the third stage of labor, which is what we're talking about right now, is from the birth of your baby to the delivery of your placenta. Now, this medication, even though it is standard practice, still requires your informed consent before it can be administered to you. And I love to talk to my patients about this medication when I first meet them or when things are a little bit calmer, because I don't really think the time to be gaining consent to give a medication is when things are happening and babies are coming out and placentas are coming out and you're doing skin to skin. That is not the time. So I like to talk to people before that so that they know the risks and they know the benefits and they can make a really good choice. And then I can go ahead and give that medication if it is okay with them when their baby comes out, and I don't have to interrupt the process at all. And if you want a video all about Pitocin or Oxytocin and the uses of it and the risks of it and the benefits of it and everything you could ever want to know about Pitocin, just let me know down in the comments and I am happy to make that for you, because that's what I talk about here on this channel. My name is Tina B and I'm a labor and delivery nurse with my certification in perinatal nursing. I would love it if you would boop that subscribe button because I love having you here to learn about things just like this. All right, let's get back on track. You have had your baby, you have delivered your placenta. What happens next? Well, hopefully you are enjoying skin to skin time with your brand new baby, because we know that skin to skin has some incredible benefits. So if you can get at least 60 minutes of uninterrupted skin to skin time, more if you can, it's going to have amazing benefits for you, but it is also going to be awesome for your baby. And also, it's going to be distracting from what is coming next, which is your provider is going to be inspecting your perineum for any perineal tears which need repairing. Now, we know that first and second degree perineal tears are the most common, but there are also third and fourth degree tears which are more severe, and they're going to need more of a repairing effort. So your provider is going to be looking at things down below. And while they're doing that, I'm going to be up top. I'm going to put a blood pressure cuff on, and I'm first going to take your vital signs. So I'm going to check your blood pressure, your heart rate, your breathing rate, your skin temperature, and also your oxygen saturation. But wait, There's more. I also want to know, what is your uterus doing inside of you? And you may have heard stories about nurses like blowing in and hammering down on your stomach right after you've had a baby, and that sounds super barbaric, but checking in on what your uterus is doing is sort of necessary because it serves as a postpartum vital sign. Knowing what your uterus is doing is going to tell us how the healing is going, but it is also going to tell us if we need to be worried or thinking about a postpartum hemorrhage that might be starting out, because the sooner we know about signs of a postpartum hemorrhage, the sooner we can intervene and the less serious that postpartum hemorrhage is going to be. I want you to know that if I'm your labor and delivery nurse, right before your baby is born, another nurse is probably going to come in the room because they are going to become your baby's nurse. I mean, they get a nurse all to themselves even before they are born. And their job is to check in on baby to see how baby is doing in the transition from life inside of you to life earth side. And they're going to check things like their heart rate and their breathing rate and their skin temperature. And all of these checks can indeed be done while baby is skin to skin with you, because really the only reason we need to interrupt that skin to skin is if baby is not doing well or baby needs resuscitation, at which point they would be taken over to a warmer, which is likely in the room with you so that you can see what is happening. But otherwise, these things can be done while baby is skin to skin. And I wanted to let you know something as well. When babies come out, they don't all cry right away. I don't want you to be freaked out if your baby doesn't suddenly start screaming when they come out of you. We can look at other things besides what they sound like to make sure that your baby is doing well. Now, we talked about the little warmer in the room. If there is some issues with transition and we are concerned about baby's well-being, your baby's nurse is going to bring them over to the warmer, and they are going to call a team of people into the room to help them give your baby some support. And a lot of times this support is in the form of breathing support, because the issue with transition is going from having lungs that are full of fluid to having lungs that need to breathe air. So you might see a mask over their mouth and nose, you might see an oxygen sensor on their hand with a little red light, and you might see them doing some suctioning to try to get some of that mucus out of their airways. These issues a lot of times are more common with C-section births, but we do absolutely still see them with vaginal births. And again, all of this is likely going to be going on in the room with you. So please, if you are not getting information, feel free to ask questions, because you have every right to know what is going on with your baby. And I also want you to know that bulb suction, you know, those kind of teal colored bulbs where they suck out their nose and the mouth, a lot of times that is not standard practice anymore. So don't be shocked if you don't see them sucking that goop out. You're probably wondering, how often are all these things going to be done? And that is a great question. For you, your checks are going to be done every 15 minutes, and we need to have at least 4 that are good before you can go to postpartum, meaning your vital signs are stable, your bleeding is stabilized, and your uterus is in a really good place. But between these 15-minute checks, there are lots of other things that we're doing as well. If you had an epidural or a spinal, if you had a C-section, we are making sure that the level that you can feel things is actually moving down in your body. So the level that you are feeling numb should be decreasing as your recovery goes on. If it is increasing, we are getting worried. We are also going to be cleaning you up, because birth is messy, right? So we're going to clean you up. We're going to apply the mesh panties and the pads, or your diaper if you brought one of those, so that you're nice and contained when you go over to postpartum. You can also start thinking about what you want for your victory meal. I am happy to bring you snacks and all of the juice, but the good stuff that you might want, you know, the Big Mac or the sushi, that is going to be somebody being sent out into the community to bring that back for you. So you can be getting that organized in between your checks as well if you are ravenously hungry. And we're also going to be transferring you to a wheelchair if you had a vaginal birth, or we're going to be moving you in the bed and changing all the pads underneath you if you had a C-section. And then we're going to tell your partner to start gathering up all of the things, because likely, especially if you had a long labor, there's going to be things scattered all around the room. So it is their job to sort of gather it all up and get it ready, because very soon you're going to be moving to postpartum. And don't forget your chargers that are plugged into the wall. As we are getting ready to move to postpartum, that 1 hour of uninterrupted skin-to-skin time is probably all done. So this is the point in time where we can do all those last-minute things for baby that we didn't do while they were laying on your chest. So we are going to weigh them, and get your camera ready. Do not miss the picture of them in front of the scale. It is super cute, one of my favorites. We're also going to do their length and their head circumference. If their hat is all gunked up, we can give them a brand new hat. We can put a diaper on them so that when they go back to skin, they don't do all of that meconium all over you. If your facility does the footprints, this would be a great time to do those as well. And then it is dealer's choice. You can either bundle your baby up for the transfer to postpartum, or my recommendation, you can put them right back skin to skin and cover them up with a blanket for their transport to their brand new postpartum unit. Another big thing that happens in labor and delivery after your baby is born, during skin-to-skin time, is the initiation of breastfeeding if that's how you're choosing to feed your baby. If you can get your baby latched and breastfeeding started within the first hour after they are born, that has been shown to have great benefits for you and great benefits for baby. Now, of course, this is not always possible, and if it is not, you're gonna just try to get your baby latched as soon as you are able to do so, because babies are expending a ton of energy to regulate their body systems and their temperature and their blood sugar. So getting them fed as early as possible is gonna help you with milk production, but it is also going to help them to regulate those systems that are working super hard at being a brand new baby. So this is what you can expect during the labor and delivery portion of your childbirth experience. But wait, there's more, because then you're gonna head to postpartum. So here is what you can expect in the immediate postpartum period if you're having a hospital birth. I hope you loved this one. Go ahead and give it a thumbs up if you did, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.